Now it's time for On Point, where we speak to experts to delve deeper into the biggest news stories in the spotlight right now. It was widely expected, but last month the Bank of Korea hiked interest rates for the second time in a period of just 3 months. The benchmark rate rose 25 basis points. It's now sitting at 1%. Policymakers also signaled there will be more hikes as they look to try and keep a lid on inflation and Korea's notoriously big problem with household debt. For 2022, the inflation outlook was lifted to 2% from an earlier projection of 1.5%, and watchers expect the next rate hike could come as soon as next month. That will be just a couple of months ahead of South Korea's presidential election in March.
This worries a sizable portion of the population, with some experts even suggesting it could even collapse the housing market, with home prices in Seoul almost doubling over the past 5 years alone. What effect will these rate hikes and inflation have on people in South Korea? For more, we connect to Song Soo-young, a professor of economics at Chungang University. Good morning, Professor Song.
Yeah, good morning.
With interest rates increasing, how much pressure is this going to put on households already burdened with stagnant wage growth and pandemic restrictions, among other things? And do you share concerns these rapid fire rate hikes could potentially cause a catastrophic collapse of the housing market?
Okay, as for the first question, I have my personal calculation about how much the burden would be impact on the household debt. Actually, according to the data, that 75% of the household borrowing is consisted with variable loan interest rate. So that is reached 1,844.9 trillion Korean won. So assuming, because this is just a hypothetical calculation, so assuming half of the working age population owed some debt, on average, the 1% increase of the interest rate could increase the burden as much as 760,000 Korean won, which is equivalent to $630 per month. But this is a hypothetical. I mean, maybe just I assume that half of working age population has, to some degree, they borrow the money from the bank. But if you increase the number of the loan for the populations, clearly this would be reduced. So, and for the, is there any possibility to rapid fire hike? Yeah, rapid fire hike more than 1% within just a month or in each next 3 months. If the Bank of Korea could increase as high as 1% or 2%, that could cause a really serious threat against the economy. But BOK will not do that. It's most unlikely for them to do that. And also, according to the Federal Reserve projection over the next year's inflation rate is relatively very attenuating. I mean, it is declining because current position is because of as the anchor has mentioned, some maritime logistics congestion and other things, supply disruption. So that must be transitory. So as long as that is remains transitory, then in the future the inflation rate will be decreased, and then there is not much reason to increase the interest rate.
Right, and we must remember that historically speaking, even 1% is still very low interest rate. So even if they raise it up to 1.5%, 2%, still very low if we look back a few decades. But some experts are laying the blame for inflation on the government's money printing, giving out this financial support wave after wave to give to those most affected by the pandemic due to all the related restrictions and whatnot. How much do you think the inflation we're feeling right now is down to the pandemic and the way the government has reacted to it?
Okay, the general notion of some government's rampant money printing would be the main cause of the inflation and the failure of government, but that owes to Milton Friedman's argument. But his argument is mostly proved as groundless because the evidence shows that the monetary base, the printing money, is not at all related with inflation. Only the M2, that is the addition of the monetary base plus some increased and multiplied supply of money. But however, economic activity, the declining economic depression of the economic activity caused the money supply to decrease. So the causality is totally the other way around. So I believe that currently the economic behavior, economic activities recover what it used to be, as long as the pandemic effect is reduced and the supply chain disruption could be removed. And also the people, once in the position of a furlough or layoff, go back to what they used to have. Then the economy is on the recovery path and in the normal path in the near future. But what I'm most concerned is about if this kind of long-lasting furlough and layoff could lead to some decreasing productivity of the labor, then it could have the same effect as the increase of the wage. And that could be some kind of burden to the economy. And then as long as the labor productivity is decreased, so without any further some new escape route or the growth route is not available, then we may be doomed to the economy such as Japanese economy, which have suffered 3 decades of lost decade. So otherwise, I think the prospect is not that bad at all.
And lastly, Professor, numerous South Korean administrations stretching back years have tried every trick in the book to bring down housing prices, but they've almost exclusively failed. And if other countries can handle housing prices to a reasonable degree, why is South Korea unable to find a way?
But at least the current situation in the Korean housing market is much better than Spain or Italy, Greece, Ireland in the wake of 2008 crisis. And recent surge of house price is, of course, is problematic, and it produced the impression that is a failure of the government control. But I believe two causes. But in 2016, the leniency and the relaxation of the regulation of the LTV loan to value, and then the decrease the interest loan rate. So that is so many because people are ready to purchase. Then before the pandemic, and we saw the economy, Korean economy had shown the impression to recover much earlier than other countries. Then it has the money has provided to the housing market. That is a main cause. And in addition to that, particularly the supply of the residence home surrounding areas of Seoul and the Gyeonggi vicinities, because we have population concentration is very high, and almost 60% of the population has gathered around the Seoul and Gyeonggi area. So temporary shortage of the supply in this area could cause a hike of the housing price. But I believe this is basically the bully whip effect on the housing market. So bully effect is people order more, and because of some psychological panic and ordering earlier, and then they try to hold. But this should be controlled and regulated by the government. So The market is, I don't think it's properly working and control this situation at all. So what is needed right now is a firm determination of the government to restrict and continue the current some strict control of the loan. And then we could easily see that the increase of the high price. But however, for the increase of interest rate, I think BOK and must remain very cautious about that, because it could have some too fast and too much hike of interest could cause devastating damage on the economy, of the recovery of the economy growth.
Okay, Professor, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate you making time in your schedule to speak to us and sharing your insights, and we hope we can speak to you again soon. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.